What's going on? Is there any kind of release next week?
I don't think so. I think it's another open one. I put in, I got penciled in Veronica on Netflix because we've had a lot of people tweeting about it over time. That was the one they put on Netflix. They're saying it's so scary you'll pass out or some dumb shit like that.
Um, I'll go check out the trailer after I get this live here.
Ooh, it's foreign. It's another ghost movie.
Ugh. Do we have anything in the queue that's not a ghost movie?
Let's see. We have Before I Wake, which is still ghosty. Tragedy Girls, which is looks more slasher than ghosty.
Let me check that out.
I know Cece watched it. I think she was into it. Let's see what's new.
Yeah, I'm down with Tragedy Girls. Where do we have that?
I have it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty sweet looking. Definitely a conversation starter. I
Okay.
think we should probably try to get. Well, we'll have Cece. If anybody else is out, we should try to get Sophie on. Get some of that lady perspective, y'all.
Lady Perspective sounds like a deodorant.
Perspective for ladies. Strong enough for a man.
Yeah, I doubt there's much releasing this weekend. It's Avengers weekend.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oops. Ooh, Suburban Sasquatch. Yeah, we're not doing that. That looks like home video.
Is that your porn name?
Yes.
Suburban Sasquatch.
Not a whole lot to work with picture-wise.
That's fine. If you want to just grab me a cover now. I feel like we need to get some schnars in the video tonight. Find a good picture. Sometimes I just put pictures of like Sebastian Stan or like Steve Zahn in the video for like, and I'm with no context, and I wonder if people watching it like understand what's even happening. That's right. If you do, you're in the cool club.
That was cool. It didn't copy. Bastard.
I'm like interested in Infinity War, but I literally haven't seen any of the Avengers movies up until now. I'm like blown.
You haven't seen any of them?
I was blown away when you guys told me on the show a couple of weeks ago this was the fourth one. I'm like, what?
I haven't seen Black Panther yet, and I usually don't rush out to see these in the theater. I like them. I think they're a blast, but I don't like dealing with the crowds.
I mean, you know, I get that a character might die, but how spoilery, you know. They're going to have a villain that they're going to have to punch a bunch, and he is big and can probably punch better than them. So then they have to team up and find some creative way to punch him, and then he's dead.
Yes.
And then
or they punch each other.
And then during the credits, they get some weird cryptic message from a new guy who's going to try to punch him. The pre-show. Listen to us eat.
Yes.
I saw that there was a screening of Halloween today somewhere, or a screening of some of the first footage of it, or like a first look.
The new one?
Yeah.
Nice. How about
the
that?
detail, we can talk about it on the show, but
did you see the Venom trailer?
You know, I haven't seen the trailer. I've seen the stills and that one gif of it like climbing up around him. It looks awesome.
Yeah. It's pretty hypnotizing.
I'm pretty into that meme too. Just like people putting shit in front of it.
Yeah. Did you see the one that they somebody tweeted us today? They put the Google eyes on it.
Oh, really?
It's good stuff. I don't know much about Venom though, so. But I like me some Tom Hardy, so I'll go see it.
No, yeah, I don't. Well, I mean, I'm just not a comic guy, so I never know stuff about this stuff. But it's just like Venom always seemed fucking cool, and it always seemed like they never really got it right.
Have you seen all this stuff with Patton Oswalt's wife today?
That's funny.
Yeah.
How do I get this? I need this.
Have you seen all the stuff with Patton Oswalt's wife who died today?
Yes, about how she had written this book and then they caught the guy.
Yeah, they think they caught the Golden Gate Killer.
Yeah.
And I don't know that anybody's come out and said that her book led them to him, but the timing's right.
It sounds like she was the main person out there keeping the case in the headlines.
Yeah.
All right, how do I get this GIF in like GIF form and not as a movie?
Let's see. Let's try this.
That's really good, like tracking on those eyes too.
I know.
That's such a great shot. It's just such a coolly framed shot.
Yeah, I mean, the CGI in that's pretty impressive.
I love Tom. I love Tom Hardy too. He's just awesome.
Yeah. That's funny. CC's by the Victrola. Have you seen the new BattleTech game that released yesterday?
I saw some people playing it on Twitch.
Yeah, guy at I work with's really into it and excited for it. Was beta testing it and stuff. Was showing me some of it. Looks pretty cool, and he describes it as being like XCOM, which is a pretty good plus in my book.
That's kind of what it looked like to me. Sort of turn-based mech thing. Is that a series? Like
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey. All right.
Hello, CC. Of course, our Victrola correspondent.
Yeah, here, hold on.
Oh, is that?
That's fucking terrifying.
Oh yeah, it's super creepy.
I've got something in my front pocket for you.
Do you ever hear that in the middle of the night?
Dude, I would die. That is so scary.
I mean, it's just like, it's terrifying.
Did you intentionally get the most horrifying record ever? Like, does it play records or specific kinds of things?
So it plays those, what are these, like 78s, I think? And, hold on. Can't figure out how to use my phone. And it came, like, so my dad bought it at an auction, which makes it even more creepy. And this only had, like, 3 records in here. And now I don't know where my other one is. My other one is just a, I think it's, like, Bach or something. And it's all just like classical music, but this is the one that has singing on it, and it is like bizarre.
That's awesome.
Okay, well, I'll go upstairs now. I just wanted to show you.
It's like every Insidious movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And like you can't turn it off, so like you just have to wait for it to stop playing.
So it
and
slows
Kyle's
down.
Gonna be so pissed if he comes in and hears it playing, and it like creeps him out.
Does it come with a free copy of Lynch A?
No.
Hey guys.
Tiptoe.
Oh, I see it.
Through the tulips.
Missed it playing though. It's creepy as shit.
She literally has like a creepy like 1920s record.
Yeah, hold on. It's got to speed up.
No, play
it. Did turn off that time, which is nice because sometimes it does that.
No.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, if you were trying to scare people away from your house last week, you should have just put that on, like left.
Here, wait a second. CC, one more.
Well, and it's in the front room by like by the front door, so I really should just leave it playing when I'm.
Hello.
CC, show Shelton, then you can hang up.
Oh yeah. All right, hold on. I gotta turn it back up.
Shelton, we're looking at CC's Victrola.
Oh wow. Oh, that's not creepy. Kill it with fire.
Now play it backwards.
Dude, playing it back, or like, so like you can slow it down. Hold on. This is where it gets creepy. Hold on. Or more creepy, I guess.
So when you turn it down, it slows down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it kind of sounds like a Wu-Tang beat's about to come on.
You know what? It reminds me of Boardwalk Empire. That's like the beginning of every scene in that show.
I'm
All
waiting
right.
for Michigan J Frog to jump out and hear him go,
I'll
"Hello,
be-
my baby. Hello, my darling."
I'll be right back.
Oh.
Cece, go ahead and hang up and do your thing. I'll get you back on in a minute.
Okay, cool.
We are live.
Hi, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Oh, chilling. I just tried to make a pizza. Well, I was helping my wife make a pizza, and it kind of turned into a calzone. And now I don't know where it's going.
You went to the calzone zone?
We did,
Nice.
not on purpose.
You guys all have similar. I feel left out. I don't have any like memorabilia behind me.
Yeah, you gotta get some swag.
I know.
You're just like up in the attic. Like,
I just have a printer with a bunch of.
kind of looks like you're sitting on the toilet. Honestly.
Yeah.
You know what? That's not the first time that someone said that. In fact, literally every time I sign on, someone says that. I've got some random shit on my desk though that you can't see, like this guy. God bless
Festive.
America. Lots of random Gremlins paraphernalia. This guy.
Can't really make out my good stuff.
I'm an
Like my
official
Bride of-
This
Bride
Hannibal
of Frankenstein tiki.
art.
Hannibal Hart, Frankenstein. Oh, here you go, Casey. Well, I'm sure I've showed this on the show before, but I do have my Gremlins
Ooh.
tiki.
Yeah,
It used to have a like a succulent in there, so that
I do remember you showed
Had, like-
about that.
spiky.
You guys know Kraken, like spiced rum,
Yeah.
Yes.
dark rum? I got a bottle of that came with a this black like Kraken tiki, and it's basically like a Cthulhu tiki.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's dope. Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
have the
I can show it to you.
beef squatch pop that my daughter got me for Christmas.
Squatch.
Nice.
Beef squatch. I love me some
Random,
beef.
random skeleton with a horn. There's a lot of random shit on my desk, honestly.
Okay, this is seasonal. I have a Taco Fest Fiesta medal. So like right now it's Fiesta in San Antonio, which is like it's kind of like San Antonio Mardi Gras, and like people get a bunch of these. This is like the equivalent of beads or whatever.
Nice.
My wife has lots and lots of them. I have one. And I got it free because I went to Taco Fest.
Does she have to obtain them the same way that they do beads in Mardi Gras?
No, you have to buy them. It's kind of
Oh.
stupid.
Ah,
Yeah,
That sounds way less fun.
yeah, they're like $10 a pop. It's an expensive habit, but whatever.
All right, so hello everyone. Can
Hello.
everyone
Oh, hi.
can everyone confirm you can hear this? Beer guts. Well, there you go. That's the only time that you hear that tonight.
Eric, I was like really loud last week. Am I still loud now, or do I sound okay?
I don't know. Cece, say something.
Hello, can you hear me?
Casey,
Hello.
Mark.
Hey, hi there.
Yeah, you're a little hot in the mix. Shelton.
Do I turn the gain down?
Hey.
Yeah, you're good now. When you got on, Shelton, you were like, your voice was raging, but it sounds okay now. Just
Yeah,
keep,
I just scream a lot.
just keep an eye in the chat, and I'll let you know if you're sounding high.
Okay. Yeah, my Skype tends to do like some kind of automated levels.
Yep.
I can't figure out how to turn that off.
Skype will do that. There's this setting. Should be a checkbox. You can just turn it off. Did I ever get a poster for this, Casey?
Yes. I can resend it if you want.
Nope, I got it. And can I? Did you ever figure out how to get that GIF? Because I need that in my life.
I can't find it, unfortunately.
What was it?
It's this. There's a Twitter link above, Mark, in the chat. It's that Tom Hardy GIF from the
Venom.
Venom trailer, but it's with googly eyes on it when it comes around his face. It's really good, but it's one of those things like it's Twitter, so it's an MP4, but I need the link to the GIF.
All right, I'm on it.
Somebody can magic fingers that. So, top of the show, I would like to talk about. There was George Martin made an announcement today about his next book, which I can talk about. Some people saw some details today about the new Halloween, which I can talk about. We can respond to. Okay, we decided our next movie for next week, Casey and I. What's it called, Casey?
Tragedy Girls.
Tragedy Girls, because he had something else.
Yes, I've been meaning to watch that.
I was like, just not a ghost movie. I can't take another ghost movie.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. It was really fun.
Yeah,
I had Veronica on Netflix penciled in, and I started watching the trailer, and it was another ghost movie. It's like, nah, too close for Eric.
It looked different, so I can do ghost movies. I just need a break.
Yeah, I know. I didn't take it off the list completely.
Literally, this one ticked off the box for like every single cliche you could imagine, so including creepy Victrolas.
I know you well by now, Eric. I
That's
knew
funny.
that we couldn't do two ghost movies back to back until once I started it.
So that's what we'll talk about. Shelton, is there anything sophistical wise to talk about?
Yeah, we're doing another episode soon.
Okay. Well, why don't we talk about that? And then
We can talk cinema fromage too, though I don't know what we're covering, but we're gonna record this weekend.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. All right, if everybody wants to mute, we will go.
Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. We are here tonight to talk about Winchester. What happens when you take every Wandaverse movie, put it in a blender, and make it as bland as possible. That's our show for this evening. My name's Eric. I'll be your host. Joining me tonight, first up, he is one half, or let's say 1/3 of the Sophisticult Cinema family. Please welcome back to the show the homeless professor of Bloody Good Horror, one Mr. John Shelton.
Hey there, everybody.
Since we like to torture Shelton, we figured this show is perfect.
Yeah. Great choice, guys.
Next up on the show, he develops the webs at Bloody Good Horror, chief in charge of GIFs and databases. MySQL, is that right? Is that a thing?
Yeah,
Please,
yeah.
please welcome Mark to the show.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. I haven't been introed in so long because I'm never on time.
There you go, buddy. Yeah, actually, you know what? It's funny. While I was doing that, I'm like, I feel like I haven't done this in a while, and that's why.
If Joe was here, he would be giving me all of the shit, but I assume that I'm just feeling it either way.
Next up on the show, Bloody Good Horror's resident vapist. He is also one half of the Cinema Fromage crew with his wife, Colleen. Please welcome Casey to the show.
Hello.
And last up tonight, the high priestess of books and smart things. Also, if we need someone who owns a creepy thing, she has it. Like,
Yes.
hey, anybody have a weird possessed doll? And Cece's like, oh yeah, let me check under my bed. I forget where I put it.
Collection.
Do you have a cursed monkey paw with 3 fingers curled up?
No, I have a rabbit's foot, but not a monkey one.
That's fairly normal unless you killed the rabbit yourself and cut it off.
No, I did not. So, I like to try to keep it well-rounded. I have creepy things and normal things, so they kind of balance each other out.
So yeah, please welcome Cece to the
Be
show.
gone,
Yeah.
demon.
And eventually there'll be another Something Red episode that I host, but I'm too busy with my creepy things right now, I guess.
There's this ongoing thing happening on Twitter where every once in a while people are listening to one of those back episodes where we talked about Cece's proclivities for collecting dead cicada skins. And like some monster will get on Twitter and be like, "Oh my God, girl, totally! When I was a kid, we collected those." And then I just hop on and I'm just like, "No," in all capital letters.
Listen, lots of people collect cicadas. All right.
Yeah, BC's wife has an entire fishbowl full of them as they posted on.
I'm really jealous of her collection.
They're not even like I by the description I thought maybe they were really cool looking. They're horrifying. It's like,
but they are cool looking. Look,
No.
It's literally like if you just popped your skin off from your spine and just left it sticking somewhere, and someone came by and picked it up and said, "I'm gonna put this in a jar."
They look like miniature props from like Starship Troopers, is what I picture them
Yeah.
as.
It's kind of like a jar of like bug toenails. That's essentially what it is.
Basically.
Okay, well
That
that's
is-
pretty close. I will
That's
agree.
that's
So
really
anyway,
gross.
that's what's going on with Cece, just making connects with people who also
Yeah.
collected creepy bug skins. So that's cool. And she was showing us pre-show. So we were doing Winchester tonight. This is the movie about the famous Lady of Winchester, who built this creepy house, real life house in California with weird rooms and staircases that go nowhere. And it's set in the early 1900s, which led to us discovering that Cece, of course, actually owns a creepy Victrola, complete with like just the most horrifying record you could ever imagine playing. Like, just think of the cliche, right? And it's just like, there's something in my front pocket for you, and it's like, it's all warbly.
I mean, at least it's not tiptoe through the tulips. Like it could be really,
Oh my
really
God.
creepy.
The
So
worst.
don't you give it a squeeze and say, "How do you do?"
I mentioned this before, but I still love that all my South Park references are at least like 10 years old at this point.
5 of them.
Yeah.
That's a touch point for me.
So yeah, there's some other things going on. So we got a couple of book nerds on the show this week. Did you guys see the announcement from George Martin today?
No.
First of
What's
all, he announces things on his WordPress blog, which I really love. Like he still has basically like a live journal. November 20th, 2018, he's releasing a book he wrote, 1,000-page book on the history of the Targaryen kings. And this is part 1 of 2. So this starts with Aegon the Conqueror and goes through like, I don't know, like a mid-period or something.
So another excuse on why he's not writing the next
Well,
book.
Yeah.
But-
exactly.
So not the new Game of Thrones.
At the end of his screed, he says his current project is he's going back to Winds of Winter. So
We
that's at
focus
least
exclusively on the most incestuous relationships in this entire series,
yeah.
and let me write a very storied
working
history about it.
I'm working exclusively on Winds of Winter until Sunday.
But
Yeah.
listen, he hasn't said anything about it in literal years at this point, so I'm choosing to get hopeful about it. So
There's no way he's
I mean,
written
I
anything.
appreciate that, and I would like to be hopeful about it, but I just, I got to keep my.
well, he's
my
written at least a little
expectations.
bit because the last one of the editions they did of Dance with Dragons, there was like a whole excerpt from the next book. So he's at least written a chapter. I got
He's
excited,
waiting
but
for the
I mean,
last season to,
the other
to
thing
see how
is,
it ends.
I'm genuinely excited about this book in November. So I'm pretty like it's essentially written like a fake history book,
That's cool.
which I'm waiting
Dude,
Yeah,
to.
the
that sounds
books
like a
are
lot of fun.
Yeah,
The book's a cool idea. I mean, I can get it, especially if you're a big fan of it. I can dig reading into that family history, but
it's also I guess like
write the fucking book, man.
it's also I guess semi-illustrated. Like it's not as full on. They did a history, like a complete history of Westeros thing that was like a coffee table book with like big illustrations. It's not quite that much, but I guess it's gonna be kind of scattered throughout. So that's fun.
Yeah, the only thing better than a real 2-volume history book is a fake 2-volume history book.
Yeah.
Super exciting.
It's true.
The brother loved the mother, and the mother loved the uncle.
And then they feasted.
yeah. So and I finished. I did it, CC. I finished the Southern Reach trilogy.
I
You're
knew you could do it.
you're muted. CC.
And she
No big
doesn't.
deal.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was saying no. I know.
You somehow you're muted again.
Uh.
How did you do that? Shelton, have you read these books?
I read the first one
I
a
fixed
long
it.
time ago. I just saw the movie though. I actually watched Annihilation after I watched Winchester,
Oh,
which was a nice like palate cleanser.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, movies are good. I forgot.
Well, so did you like it as a trilogy, Eric?
It doesn't
That
give
means
you.
no.
It doesn't really give you any answers, which I found frustrating. But also, when you kind of look at the entirety of what that trilogy tells you over and over and over again,
Yeah.
to expect answers is kind of silly. But also, like, I
Sure.
just kept going because
Yeah.
I'm like, You know what I mean? Like it's about the whole thing is about that frustration of fighting against something that doesn't even recognize your existence, if that makes sense.
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
you know,
now that you finished it, do you see where my frustration at the end of the movie came from before I read that the screenwriter had written it as a one-off movie because the other books weren't out yet?
see, I still think that the ending of the movie is great because I don't know.
I think it is in hindsight now that I know it's going to be a one-off movie. I had problems at the end of the movie because they were talking about how the shimmer had dissipated and things like that. So it was a different ending than what the books were giving us. So
the shimmer had dissipated. They said that in the movie.
Still haven't seen it.
It's a small thing, Mark.
I
Yeah,
know.
it was kind of a Scooby-Doo happy ending. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just being a pain.
Oh,
in the
funny.
ass.
You know,
What's up,
I don't remember them saying that, but also if you
Yeah, I
take
didn't
it,
either.
but also if you take it in context of what happens in like at the end of the second book, like that may not necessarily be the happy ending it's made out to be, especially when you consider where those two characters are. But we won't spoil it anymore for Mark. But I don't know. It's challenging, and they're like superbly written. It's just a question of like how satisfying you find the story in the end, and I kind of go back and forth on it. I'm glad I read
the best thing with those books for me, with that whole trilogy, like you said, it's really well written, and you're still not going to know what the fuck's going on, but it actually reads really fast, and you know, you hear a lot of people say it was so good I couldn't put it down.
Well,
I think at least one of those books I finished in a day.
I mean, I've said this before. With me, it's like, first of all, that's not possible. You're lying. But like if I finish a book, that means I liked it, because I can't go on with books that I'm like half and half on. You know what I mean? So I think like just the fact that I finished all three of them in the span of like a couple months is pretty big for me, and just kind of says a lot. But just a little blue ballsy at the end, I guess I would say. But you know, it kept messing me up. I think I said this before, but like they describe Natalie Portman's character and who played the director in the movie, Jennifer Jason Leigh. Like that character in the book is described as like a large, stocky lady. So like I'm picturing Jennifer Jason Leigh, and then they would make some reference to how big she is. I'm just like, nope, I'm just ignoring that.
Tell him Large Marge sent you.
Exactly. Tell him Large Marge sent you. Some people saw some snippets of the new Halloween movie today.
And what did they say?
That the movie is basically, they're actually doing what I had said you probably should do, which is turn Jamie Lee Curtis into essentially like the Loomis. Like she's basically hunting him. And then there's also something going on with a documentary crew, which could or could not be,
You know, like H2O.
Yeah,
no,
well,
H2O.
no.
It was the Bus Resurrection.
Halloween 8, yeah, Halloween Resurrection. But like, well, no, that was like a reality show. That was even worse. But it was unclear to me. I didn't actually get super into it, but it was unclear to me if like she's with this crew or if they're just like a separate thing.
There was also a description of someone being in a bathroom stall and Michael Myers dropping a handful of bloody teeth into the bathroom stall, which sounds really sounds pretty gnarly.
Sounds
like
that sounds like some Rob Zombie shit, is what that sounds like.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's funny because like Halloween is like the first two Halloween movies. They're violent, obviously. They're slasher movies, but that sounds like particularly violent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in a way that those weren't. Like maybe sort of like gory, gross out kind of. I don't know.
I heard the song that Zombie uses in his first Halloween. Was it "Love Hurts"?
Regular.
Yeah, like I was walking through. I was at work, and the dude who like we have like a little small like cafeteria, and the guy bumps like classic rock all day. And I walked in, and "Love Hurts" was on, and I realized that the Rob Zombie Halloween has now given me this Pavlovian like anger response when I hear "Love Hurts," because I'm just like fucking stupid, fucking like I just like go off.
Love hurts, fuck you.
My mom's a stripper.
This latest Halloween reboot's the one written by Danny McBride and his filmmaking buddy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nice.
I feel like at this point I'm just like Halloween was like a comfort film for me, all of those movies, in a way that a modern version is never going to live up, which is fine. So I think as long as I go in from that point of view and just be like, what? Let's just see what this is. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm completely neutral on this.
That's
like,
a lesson
I'm
I
not
learned, I
looking
feel
forward
like.
to it, but I'm also not like really angry about it. I'm just like, we'll
but
see.
It took
Yeah.
me. It took me living through like 2 Halloween remakes and 15 years of life shit for me to just get perspective.
You're all out of Halloween rage.
That reminds me. So Mi Corazon this week was surfaced this quote for me, which I'm pretty sure was from the first episode of Bloody Good Horror, where I'm basically saying that like I never got over the fact that I didn't find out what happened at the end of Halloween 6. Like it was just me saying that, like kind of as a joke, but also like I'm just never this is my life. And I realized like I'm actually
And you're not even gonna let me get to the BGH classics?
Yeah, well, we can talk about it. But I realized like I actually am over it.
I had a similar. Someone tagged me in a there was some like sort of bullshit clickbaity like, hey, there's like definitely a Gremlins reboot happening, and here's like a little bit of information. How does Mark feel about it? And I'm like, whatever. I don't know. Like it's, I just it's hard to summon any. I think the point that I make over and over again is that the existence of a new movie, and this is definitely a like opinion shift since we started the show, like a pretty stark one, but the existence of a new movie does not remove the old movie from history. It doesn't remove it from your memories. You can still watch it. You can still have reverence for it. And like if new people like the new movie and the new movie's good, great. And if it sucks, whatever. It's not important, you know?
No, Mark, my childhood.
Yeah, right. I hate that so much. People are like,
Well,
you
I think
ruined
a
my
big part of it
childhood. I
is
was like, if a movie ruins your childhood, there's some other shit going on in your childhood, I think.
Well, the big part too is just like not giving a shit if that's what kids think Halloween is or Friday the 13th or whatever. Like, fine, because I don't give a shit what the kids think. So that's really kind of liberating.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
But also, yeah,
Care-
I think I don't know, whatever. This is a whole rabbit hole, but I think it goes along with like the. And we have
it's
been
definitely better than talking about this fucking movie.
we have been 100% guilty of this in the past, and I think that that's a function of doing a show over the course of 10 years, which is that like you literally just mature as a person, and your opinions hopefully like change on things. I've been thinking about a lot about this lately, about the thing of like when somebody says, oh, like that it's stupid to give a spoiler alert for a 20-year-old movie, and it's like, well, actually it's more stupid to just assume that there isn't some young film nerd out there who's experiencing these movies for the first time because he's 20 and hasn't had a chance to watch every single movie that's ever been made.
You haven't seen Basket Case 3 yet, bro?
I think that as like, so like, you know, I think that in a lot of ways we are part of the vanguard of like original online nerd culture. Like I think we were pretty young, but it was like we were one of the first generations like really at a pretty young age like involved in it. And as we age, I think there's this tendency to just think of everybody being right along there with us at the same point of life and to neglect younger generations coming up or just speak about them in a dismissive way, which I think is really bad for like the long-term viability of like passionate film people culture. Like we should be welcoming these people who are discovering things and not chastising them for having opinions that are different from ours. Because like in a lot of cases, they're just a different generation.
So what you're saying is if there's a kid who hasn't seen any ghost movies and the first one they see is Winchester and they think it's fucking awesome,
good for
then
them,
we should
man.
Celebrate them for,
listen, whatever.
Coming down the path.
At the end of the day,
my favorite part is the part where there's something behind every door.
At the end of the day, though, like how many bad movies do we all have attachments to because they mean something emotionally for us because of whatever the point in our life was, right?
Oh, yeah. All you fuckers love Lost Boys. That movie sucks.
Yeah, it kind of. You know what? It kind of does, but I love it. Great.
I kind of love it
tonight. I love it.
I think.
No, actually, as someone who I'm not going to go as far as to say it sucks, but I don't have. It was like a little bit before my time, so I don't have like super strong nostalgia over it. I can kind of appreciate it for how cheesy it is, but I'm kind of.
I had the soundtrack on vinyl when I was a kid.
So yeah, I didn't mean to get.
But it is technically not a good movie.
I didn't mean to get all real and shit, but I guess my larger point is just like have perspective on this stuff. Try to. That's not really a fun thing to hear in a podcast. People really just want to hear us do shenanigans and complain about shit, but you know.
Nanners.
Welcome to Dadcast, where you get dad
Wiener jokes and poltergeists.
Yeah, where you get dad opinions from now on, because guess what? Which reminds me, actually, speaking of dads, I think a round of applause is in order. John Schnarr's now a dad thrice times.
He did it.
As
We were talking about, I posted something in our Slack group, and someone there was 2 congratulations, and then changed the subject to something way random. And I was talking to Joe about it. He's like, "Yeah, by the time you have your 3rd kid, no one's really impressed anymore."
It's like, yeah, we know Schnars.
The seed is strong, as they might say in Game of Thrones.
Well, to be fair, though, John and his wife on their 3rd kid, it's that kid's gonna come out and he's gonna fall over and she's gonna fall over and bang her head, and they're gonna be like, "Yeah, you're fine, get up."
Yeah, they'll just wipe the pacifier off of their shirt.
Also, Schnars had a great operating room picture with full hospital garb on that I felt recalled his Herbert West get up from the BGH 10 year this year. So
Yeah.
Pretty, minus the pervy glasses.
But we're all very excited and happy for Schnarr's BGH family getting bigger. He'll obviously be missing a little bit of time, but despite how Schnarr's may act, he misses us when he's gone, so he'll be back.
Keep telling yourself that.
We're probably 1 kid. They say they're done, but we're 1 kid away from George R.R. Martin writing the Schnarr's family history, I think.
Exactly. All right, guys. I think we've stalled long enough.
Ugh.
It is time. Let us take a break and review Winchester.
This is it, Senator. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. We're back.
And that's our show.
CC.
We're back and we're done. See ya.
CC, please bring us the word of the day.
Oh man. So the word of the day is ideomotor, which is an adjective that was first recorded in about the 1860s, and it comes from the base word ideo, which means individual, and motor, which means to move. And it relates to the movie because the ideomotor phenomenon is a psychological phenomenon wherein a subject makes motions unconsciously. And we see a little bit of that as Sarah Winchester does some automatic writing, and that's where she gets the plans for her crazy house with all the random doors and weird death rooms.
Nice. I'll tell you what, Schnars would not have looked that word up. That was good. Nice work, CC. Hey, Mark, you want to? I stole the last synopsis from you. You want to do this one?
Let's see, why do you call on me when I'm not ready for
I mean,
it?
I'll
But
do
when
it
I was
if you don't
ready,
want to.
you take it away from me. Getting ready to murder this. Okay, so this movie, Winchester, as we sort of mentioned, is very, very, very loosely based on a true story that centers around Sarah Winchester, who is the owner of the house and the owner of the Winchester Rifle Company. It's got a cool old timey name like Winchester Rapid Fire Multi-Gun Pew Pew.
It's Repeating Arms Company, right?
There you go, Repeating Arms Company. That's what I was looking for. And she has been showing some increasingly erratic behavior, including building, basically kind of commissioning to build just never-ending construction in her house, like doorways that lead to nowhere, and like really weird long staircases and just all sorts of general craziness. And as a result, she is ordered to have a psychological evaluation. And so the other main character in this film is played by Jason Clarke. This is Dr. Eric Price, who is the man sent to assess her mental state. And he's got some issues of his own, including dealing with a grief situation and some drug problems and all sorts of things. And he arrives at the house and pretty quickly realizes that there's a lot more weirdness than just strange pathways leading to nowhere. And craziness ensues from there.
So we also have to mention that this movie was directed and I believe written at least partially by the Spierig brothers. If that name doesn't ring a bell, you may remember they did like an independent Australian like indie movie called Undead in like 2008 or something, which was sort of a vampire movie with a kind of alien like sci-fi streak. If I remember, Shelton, you ever see this movie?
I remember it coming out, but I don't think I ever saw it.
It was kind of,
But it got a lot of buzz.
it was big in internet movie fandom circles because they had kind of shot it all on their own. They did all the effects like on their laptop. I remember reading a thing about how they had kind of done all that stuff on their like personal computer. I wasn't crazy about it, but it was interesting and kind of got them some cachet in Hollywood circles. They haven't done a lot that's super notable since then. They did Daybreakers.
Yeah.
That was a vampire movie with
I liked that movie.
with what's his face there? What's that guy's name?
Ethan Hawke.
Yep,
Ethan
that's the
Hawke.
guy. And then last year, and I'm not even sure I put this together, but they directed Jigsaw, which we lampooned pretty hardcore on the show here.
Yeah.
And so now they're doing this. So I just want to make sure we mention that because they're, they have some horror credentials, sort of.
I was like, where is this going?
I don't know.
It's just interesting. Like when I've
Yeah,
heard
for
of
sure.
it, when I've heard a director's name for 10 years, and they do something like this, it's just like, okay.
So you could have shortened that and said that they are noted for two very unremarkable horror films. Although I like Daybreakers, but like I don't
Yeah.
think anyone is like, ooh, Daybreakers.
Yeah.
Well, and we also have to talk about the fact that like they're directors. Directing a story that you didn't write is a lot different than directing a story you wrote. So visually,
Sure.
I'd say they have some credentials.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Shelton,
Mm.
what did you think of this movie?
Oh, what did I think? What
Did
I
you think at all?
No, I'm honestly trying to remember anything about this movie because it's so generic. And it didn't help that I watched Annabelle Creation like 2 days before this, and I literally cannot. I keep thinking of things, and I'm like, wait, which movie was that?
Yeah.
Helen Mirren, obviously awesome. And it had a lot, it's kind of spooky. Like the backstory of the house is really cool. I remember like, being in middle school reading about this house and how crazy it was. So I thought, maybe this could be decent. But as it went on, it became really clear that all they were trying to do is just make a Wonderverse movie, just make just a complete knockoff of that. And yeah, that's about all you can say. It's just kind of like warmed over Wonderverse.
Yeah. Which is already warmed over to begin with.
Yeah. They're like, at least they're like, like reshoveling their own shit.
Yeah.
Or somebody's like,
It's like, what if we took this microwave dinner and deconstructed it?
exactly.
Cece, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt, even though, I'd heard that it had gotten some bad reviews. I really think that the Winchester story is a phenomenal and just kind of really like heartbreakingly bizarre real story. So I thought that, there's a lot of ways this movie could go, and there's a lot of material to work with. And it was pretty disappointing that they kind of just took the easy way out. And I know we can kind of get into that later, but it's like, for a movie about guns and like regret and guilt, like you would think that you would make a more timely movie with that kind of, source material. And they just kind of decided to skip over that. But I mean, not that it needed to make a point or anything, but you could have given us some more layers or any substance at all. And yeah, it was just kind of warmed over. And visually too, I'll say that the jump scares, like, I mean, it wasn't even like, not that like, I mean, I realize that I'm a little jaded and that it takes a lot for me to like jump at those things, but I mean, it was so obvious that I was like, okay, can I just fast forward through this because I know what's gonna happen. I'd rather hear them talking about stuff than to see the creepy house.
Right. Casey.
I saw this trailer a couple times going in. I was neither excited nor expecting much. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. I like Helen Mirren. I think she's a fantastic actress. And I think, for what she had to work with, she did all right here. But otherwise, by the time this was done, it was completely mediocre and forgettable, which was kind of sad because they had, like we've already heard a couple times, it had a whole lot of potential. Now, there's some definite problems that show up in there which didn't offend me quite as bad that I know from our discussions that John and Eric will get into. For me, it was just mediocre. I didn't think it was the worst thing I'd ever seen as far as ghost movies go, but they didn't do anything new. There was nothing that was going to separate this from anything else. It's nowhere near like a Woman in Black type movie, which is what I was probably hoping that we were going to see, something Hammer-esque and whatnot, and it just didn't. It just missed all those marks.
I know
it's sad.
I know you just said Hammer-esque, but like the way you said it, I thought you said a hammer-ass. I was like, I hate when a movie's all hammer-ass.
Yeah, me too.
Mark, did you go?
I did not.
What'd you think?
I did not enjoy this movie. I think it is. I can't say that it's boring because it's sort of impossible to be bored when something's just like screaming out at you every couple of minutes. But it's just really, I think there's a really cool story to tell, and this just missed it completely. I mean, even if you're trying to like, we were talking about that it rather than becoming a story of grief, it becomes a story just like a typical revenge ghost story. But even beyond that, it's just like, I don't even understand how you have such a cool setting and such an interesting story that you can punch up a little bit and then just end up with like a jump scare every 30 seconds with like just random sort of demon-y looking, it's like they just took a special effects school and had everyone submit their idea for like a haunting generic ghost person, and then they put him in every room and just had, I don't know. There's like, I like of the entire movie, there's 2 scenes that I like, and I can get into it, and I won't talk about, after everybody's done. But overall, it's just like, if you didn't know anything about this story and how interesting the real story is, you would just watch this movie and be like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, like, and everybody's kind of hit on it, but like the biggest sin of this movie is that you took a story that's already interesting and then wrote this other uninteresting story and made the movie about that. So like that's the macro problem here, but then it's filled with these micro problems too. Like they don't really showcase the house in any kind of way. They pay lip service to how weird it is and how confusing the layout it is, and nobody gets lost in the entire movie. Like literally, anytime this dude who's never been at this house needs to be somewhere, he's there in a second. He can find it. He sneaks out of his room at night and he's crawling on rooftops and shit, and he finds his way right back to there. Is exactly.
He also at one point like finds a dead end and just kind of like LOLs at it and turns around.
And they kind of have
like he doesn't open any doors and they don't go anywhere. Like you only see a maid like clean like an open door, and you're like, oh.
And it's really weird. They only have like really three-ish wider perspectives on the house that don't really like it. This movie is just not good at giving you spatial awareness, that should be the whole fucking movie. The whole movie should be about making you feel the space and feeling disoriented in it, and it just completely drops the ball on all of that. It really is like literally this movie starts and I almost had to like take a knee or like walk out of the room and pace, because it starts with like the holy triumvirate of ghost movie cliches, which is a candle gets blown out in the middle of the night. The guy hears a noise. That's number 2. He gets out of bed to investigate. And I'm like, oh, fuck, you guys, I can't do this. I was like, oh, God.
I mean, I'm with you. I had to, like, go, because when I didn't watch it till this afternoon, and when I saw that y'all had written so much in the email, I was like, I don't know if I can watch this. This is bad.
When the candle went out, it was literally like somebody gave me a
There were no closet cats, I don't think. They stopped just short of a closet cat.
it was literally like somebody gave me a Charlie horse when the candle went out, because that was just the signal I needed to know exactly what kind of movie this was going to be. The thing that kept me in it is like, and this is kind of more about me than anything else, but I'm just a huge sucker for this time period. Like the early 19th century is so fascinating because, you know, for a lot of reasons. Like I'm reading a book right now about World War I, which is a subject like I've read a lot about, because I like the idea of the old world kind of colliding with modernity, and it's like they didn't know what was happening and they were still living in this, in a lot of ways, primitive ways, but you see technology creeping in around the edges of that life. And so like, not that that's focused on here, but there's some of that around the edges, right? Like there's there's electricity in this house, but they still burn candles. You know, there's sort of like cars, but he arrives to the place in a horse and buggy. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, turn of the century, super spooky.
And great, you know,
all you can do with that.
It's interesting that you bring that up and that they didn't touch on that, because that was kind of my issue with it too. Like the Victorian era is such an interesting time because you're kind of split at, you know, this past and future time, and you've got, like you said, all these new innovations, but you also have this intense focus on spirituality
and like
and
specifically
the spiritualist movement,
like the occult specifically.
Yeah, specifically the occult, which a lot of like contemporary beliefs in the occult come from that era. And there was just so many opportunities that, like, you know, they kind of, like you said, touch on it, or it's kind of on the edges. Like, you know, Sarah Winchester, Helen Mirren's character, says like several times, like, oh, well, I've been to a spiritualist, or she's doing automatic writing, or, you know, she's kind of doing all of these things that have so much more behind them and is really, really spooky. And they're just kind of like throwaway facts. And like you're talking about how they have electricity in this house. One of the creepiest things is the calling innovation that she has in her house, where you can speak into the tube and like he hears himself echoing in the house. Like that could have been a great, like, you know, scare tactic, and they just go, oh well, yeah, she was innovative. And
how about a ghost finger comes out
or
of it?
yes, oh my god.
It's like, really, that's how you're gonna like use this.
Oh my god, you know, I wish they should have gone like this and done like the thing like John Krasinski. Just pushed against the lips. So yeah, like, but like again, there's just so many other plotting issues. It's really, the editing is really sloppy, the scripting is really sloppy. You know, our main character is this doctor who's being sent to assess her state of mind because the board basically
being
wants
sent straight from the opium den.
Yeah. The board wants to take
the most heroin addicted doctor.
The board wants to take the company from her, you know, and so they send the doctor out there because what they want is him to come back and say she's cuckoo crackers or whatever, and like
cuckoo banana crackers, I believe is what you're looking for.
Like we meet him, and in the first scene we meet him, he's literally like shirtless and he's rolling around with 3 women and giving them drugs, and like they're having some weird, like, and he clearly has some kind of weird like cult like I don't know, influence over them, and he's given them laudanum, which I looked up and is in case you were wondering,
sounds sick.
Laudanum is distillate of opium suspended in alcohol. So they found that when they suspended it in alcohol, it tended to like preserve the compounds better, and so then they take it in this cool little like glass dropper thing that I thought was pretty sweet.
Makes you see jump scares.
I like to know about drugs, so when I see things about drugs, I look them up. But anyway, so that's our introduction to our main character, that he's basically this creepy, drugged out, like scumbag dude. And then, you know, we see they make a big deal early on in the movie about she doesn't want him doing drugs in the house. Somehow she knows this. He quits the drugs. He has withdrawals for exactly 1 scene, and then he's fine.
Well, that's
and then
around this time, it seems to me like they were so worried about it like not being spooky enough. But between your point and Cece's point, like there's so between her being consumed by grief and like being in this crazy house and being sort of isolated and whatever, and like him having this drug problem and also grief issues.
Yeah.
You could play so much with like you could just do the like is this real or are they imagining it? And like you said, they do a little bit of it, and then they just skip over to like, nah, it's
there's
just
like
straight up
10
ghosts.
minutes of that of
There-
like, oh, he's riding the green dragon and he's just seeing shit. Oh no, actually, yeah, there's ghosts.
But there's also like too much crap going on, right? Because we haven't even talked about her daughter and then the daughter's son, which is
It's
this,
her
little
niece.
ginger
this whole other plot thread, which like doesn't really have anything. I mean, they're there to be characters, but like, does it really influence the main plot that much? And then halfway through the movie, we're introduced to this subplot about his dead wife, and we're expected to like very suddenly start feeling sympathy for this dude. Part of it is this this actor just not. This actor looks like a creepy like cultist sex maniac person always in every role ever, and so like when we're then expected to have sympathy for him at the end, it's difficult for me.
Well,
That's
I
just
mean, I
his.
think that
That's just his face's fault.
What? I mean, I really like that actor a lot. I just think that it would have been a little easier had they really emphasized that at the beginning. I mean, I got the like, yeah, he's talking to his dead wife when he first sees the first ghost, and Helen Mirren's character kind of brings it up, but it's really frustrating that you have all this extra time to be like, oh, well, they should have been doing that, or this would have been scarier to do this in this movie. And, if you have any background or any interest in the Victorian era, like, you'll be super pissed at this movie because there's so many inconsistencies, and B, you're just like, man, you could have been like, okay, one thing, Helen Mirren's character is in traditional mourning garb, so that's why she's having to wear a black veil.
Which they don't explain that. I didn't know that. I just thought she liked to dress
you just
creepy.
think that she's like a creepy like goth woman, and you're like, okay, but those veils, like if your husband passed away and or if you became a widow, you would have to mourn for a minimum of 3 years, and those veils, like, you had to wear all the time, even at home, and they were so thick that they were almost like burlap. So can you imagine, like, if she were wearing a real mourning veil? Like, that would have been creepy as hell to just have Helen Mirren walking around talking to ghosts, and her niece is also a widow, and to have 2 women walking around, like, it would be super cultish. Like, it was just.
Well,
Cece, you're convincing me that you need to direct a movie.
I want to.
But you mentioned also,
amazing.
Cece, you mentioned also that the niece's husband is also dead, and she's not wearing the stuff. So like, there's some inconsistency there.
So I mean, I guess but you kind of mentioned, like, this is the time where they're making their way into modern society. So technically, this could be Helen Mirren's character accepting the spiritual, and she's going to be mourning forever, and maybe her daughter is more modern and is like, I'm not doing that. But they don't make it seem very. No one seems very sad or even really moved by the death of. And I mean, he was a shitty guy. They do say that, but
I mean, there's just not a lot of. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is also one of the biggest like standout problems in the movie, which is like when he first gets out and starts looking around and notices that it's like midnight and there's people building on the house. That's also when you get the scene where the son, like, first of all, like, walks out onto scaffolding wearing a burlap sack over his head, which is super creepy, and then just jumps. And actually, that scene to me is like reminded me of The Omen for obvious reasons, right? Like, it's just like it's kind of out of nowhere. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Exactly. It's the scene from The Omen minus the rope, basically. And this guy catches him, and like, I don't know. It's really interesting. And then they just just throw it away.
That scene is edited.
Like, lock the kid away,
and a perfect example of all the problems in this movie is like, you have a creepy scene, right? Even if it is pretty much ripped directly from The Omen, where you have no idea what's going on. You see the kid, he dives off the thing, catches him, he's saved, and he pulls the hood off. And I don't know, I can't remember what he says, but it's like some generic demon thing. And it's like, man, this would have been totally fine if you just fucking left that out. All you had to do was leave it out.
That scene is also edited like extraordinarily badly. So like, the kid is on the roof, and the guy is out of his room when he's not supposed to be, and he sees him. Nobody else sees him. He runs, he catches him, right? The mother of the kid and Helen Mirren are not in this scene. They're like presumably in the house sleeping somewhere. But yet he catches him, and then immediately a second later, we don't see the mother walk into frame at all. She's just there. Like, she's just
Yeah.
there. Nobody explains to her what happened. And she says to this guy who she's basically been treating like the plague up until now, she goes, "Oh, thank you for saving my son." Like, you would never at one moment does anybody explain to her what happened. She wasn't there to see it
Also-
happen, and yet somehow she
No, she
immediately
did see it happen. She right after it happened, she like walked out the front door and looked at it and was like, "Oh."
and then
like
Again.
and then the camera just cuts and Helen Mirren is standing in the doorway. We don't see her walk into frame, and she immediately knows what happened too. It doesn't
Yeah,
make
oh,
any
okay,
sense.
yeah. So she didn't
The-
see him.
the
jump,
editing
but
is
she saw
really
that.
That's what I'm saying.
ridiculous.
Yeah, like she didn't like the mother isn't anywhere in that scene until after he sees the jump scare with the kid, and then the mother's just there. It's just so weird.
And oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But it's just rushed. Like a lot of the editing in these scenes, to Mark's point, is rushed. They're trying to like slam you into whatever the dumb jump scare is, and then they just move on, and nothing really breathes. Nothing has weight to it.
Well,
I will
there's
say-
nothing at the middle of this movie. That's the biggest problem. Is it's just empty at the middle, and it's just this bunch of like bullet points. Like I think they just like sat down.
Yes.
And, okay, creepy kid. Okay, widow. Laudanum. Okay, guns. Twist, and then just kind of like, how do we fit all these into the script? And like they're all there. All these elements are there, but there's nothing like connecting all of them.
Well, one of my
That's a perfect description I've heard though. That so far tonight, bullet points. That is exactly the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just like checking off boxes. Like, okay, that's a ghost thing. Oh, jump scare.
Yeah.
Well,
right,
another
and
one.
one of my favorite moments in the entire movie is an example of exactly what you're, and not for this reason, but it's an example of exactly what you're talking about, where it's like it looks good on paper. I think the scene's really cool, but it really has nothing to do with the overall movie, which is the scene where Helen Mirren's character is in that like long those like twisting kind of ramps, those like
Mhm.
long staircase ramp things, and the son has a gun and he's trying to shoot her through it, and like it's rushed and it's not perfect, but it's like one of the only times that they actually use the setting. It's like
There's-
she's like can't really get out of it, and it's sort of obscured, and you
And
don't
there's
know
actually
where he is.
and there's actually
and he's-
It's
tension.
the setting. It's got guns. Like that's
yeah.
Like
that's
there's
on theme.
there's actually tension. Like you're
there's
not
right, there's actually tension,
Yeah.
and it's they take their time. It's not a jump scare. They like, but again, the sort of it's just like, oh, he's possessed or something. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have any consequence. It's just kind of a cool moment, and probably the only moment I'm gonna remember from this entire movie.
I think Eric's comment on like this movie feeling rushed, the pace on this, because it definitely does feel rushed. There's a lot of points. Then even tying in with what John said with the bullet points, everything feels like it's the quick top level. They're busting you through it. We've talked a lot of times about how sometimes movies are slow burners and things like that. This is the type of movie with this setting and the way that house is, and Helen Mirren running around in her burlap morning veil, things like that. It deserves to be a slow burn type of horror movie.
Sure.
And it would have lent itself really well to this story, but they did not touch on that at all.
Well, it's funny you say that. So I've been skimming this interview with the directors and Helen Mirren during the show, and so first of all, this just blows my mind. They asked the director what genre it falls into, and he goes, "It's a thriller with supernatural elements in it."
Oh, fuck you.
Which, like, first of all, dude, go fuck yourself. Then,
Yeah.
so if I scroll up a little bit, they ask Helen Mirren why she did this movie, and she just says, just the craziest thing I've ever read, which is, for me, it was the character of Sarah, the mystery of this first part is just actor bullshit. The mystery of it, the complication, the emotion, the passion, and the fact that it was true. Obviously, we are making a movie, and a certain kind of movie, but there's a core of absolute truth in it. This actually happened. Sure, yes, she built a weird house, so
Right.
yes.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the actual story of the Winchester house. So Sarah Winchester became a widow, and her husband didn't even die. Like, I mean, she kind of lost her marbles. He died of tuberculosis, and then her daughter basically just like wasted away. So like she had 2 deaths back to back, and like she kind of felt cursed. And she went to see a spiritualist, and the spiritualist told her that you need to give up all of your possessions, move west, and you need to start building a house because these spirits are chasing you, and that's why these people are dying around you. So she moves out there. This woman is making, just from her inheritance, like $25,000 a day in today's like inflation rate, and she starts building a house that makes no sense whatsoever because she feels like the guilt of all of these people who died by a Winchester gun are moving her to do so. And like, that's a crazy ass story. Like, outside of whether or not it's paranormal, like just the thought of the mental capacity for someone to feel that much like pain and regret and guilt, like that's a crazy story. And you could have made it so much, like it would have been a really heavy movie, but it would have, I could see where Helen Mirren could have said that had this been a totally
The funny thing is
movie.
too, I mean, so yes, so like that's this movie's biggest sin, just laid bare.
Yeah.
Tell her story and cut the rest of this bullshit, which is this whole movie.
Mhm.
And then also in the interview, they compare it to The Others, which is hilarious because The Others is actually a really great, slow burn, classy horror movie, which is what this could have been. But instead, it's just like the most watered down Wannaverse kind of BS.
Yeah, it really sucks because this could have been, you know, like you said, it could have been a really great, you know, highbrow kind of arty horror movie, and
I mean, it's also not even fun. Like sometimes when done well, those Wannaverse movies can have a certain like thrill ride nature to them.
Right.
It just doesn't even achieve that on any level.
No, I mean, there's nothing, I hate totally shitting on movies, but like there wasn't anything that I really enjoyed about this at all. Like there was very little redeeming qualities to it for me.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about like because I think one of the biggest like losses they had was that they didn't use that location. Like we've talked about that a few times, but like think about a movie that uses a location really well, and like The Shining is probably the best example of that. Like there's so much shit going on in that movie to disorient you. You don't really understand how everything fits together. You know, the place just doesn't make sense, and like that is the kind of thing you needed. Like if they had walked in on like these like tableaus of like gun deaths or something and just like what the fuck is that, and then it goes away, that would be way more effective than just like you know, he opens a door and there's like and then,
and I think of something like Crimson Peak too, which is like not totally about the house, but it's a little bit about the house. It's just so much more memorable, and they really use that setting. Like I'm thinking about like the red soil and that sort of like crazy basement area thing.
Like 2 years, but I can still like kind of picture the house and the layout and where everything fits together. Like this, like every room was just like a room to itself. I have no idea what room was next to what room and how you got from one place to another.
That's what I mean. How they really blow the like spatial aspect in giving you any kind of like feeling of where you are, what's around you. You know.
Yeah, everything's just compartmentalized. It just feels like it was just made on a set, and maybe it was. I don't even know if they actually filmed this in the house.
It felt like a set to me. But I don't. I could be wrong.
Imagine that they would have been there and it wouldn't have at least kind of seemed like they had been there, but who knows?
I can't imagine they would have let him film this horseshit in the actual house, but you never know.
All right,
the
guys,
real house
shit out of this house.
Yeah, although it started out as 7 stories, but I think there was an earthquake, and now there's only 4 stories. And if you go, like I don't think you can go to all of the stories. You can only go to like certain parts of the house, but it's still standing, and it's still, I mean, solely a tourist attraction.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever wonder if you've heard of this house, basically, if you've ever seen more than one episode of Ripley's Believe It or Not, you've seen this episode.
Truth.
All right, guys, would you recommend this, Shelton?
No.
Casey?
No.
Mark?
Absolutely not.
Cece?
No.
I am also going to say no. 5 thumbs down. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
There is a moment in your nightmare when the fear of being trapped is so great, you must use every ounce of strength to pull yourself back into reality. Sean Cunningham, the director of Friday the 13th, has created a living nightmare, a bizarre side of reality that is no longer presence of your mind, but a fact of inescapable fear. A Stranger is Watching. Rated R.
Now playing at select area theaters.
Hi, this is Electra Avellan, and this is Elise Avellan, and we're the crazy babysitter twins from Grindhouse, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror. Mwah.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. 2 emails this week. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. First up, Danny says, Mark piecing out in the middle of BGH Classics last week was hilarious. It harkened back to when Mark would try to do the plot synopsis and his internet would fuck off right when he got to the crucial part. When he ran off, you had just read 2 tweets from me about y'all talking about Limp Bizkit in episode 301. I feel like I missed part of that email. Stand by.
Oh, because you copy and paste. I'm like, what?
Yeah, no,
It just
there
turns into Latin randomly.
Joe then commented that Mark probably left because he had had enough of the Limp Bizkit talk. So you missed all this, Mark. I don't know if you went back and listened.
No, I did. I went back and listened to it.
My next tweet, which Mark left before reading, was BJ's Classics 301. I want to note that this is Cece's first ever episode, and Eric and Joe spent the first 4 minutes before even introducing her talking exclusively about Limp Bizkit. So, you know,
I would say that's coincidental, but there's like an 80% chance we're gonna end up talking about Limp Bizkit on any given episode.
So you know, irony and stuff like that. You all are awesome. I'm glad you've officially declared Cece a full-fledged co-host. Cheers, Library of Congress. He also says, P.S. Joe's sounds he makes to accompany his Beer Guts intro sound more and more like turkey gobbles each week, and I could not love them more. It's true.
Gobble gobble.
What in the fuck did I do with emails this week? Okay. Danielle wrote in. She says, I just wanted to write in to say how excited I am that Cece is officially full-time. I have been waiting for this moment for years.
Well, thank you. I'm very flattered.
I love what you bring to the show. Also, I will give you money if any of you start a Big Brother podcast. Joe, I'd say Eric, but I'd prefer more than 2 episodes a summer. I'm not sure what that means, Danielle, but I'm offended by it, I'm pretty sure.
The shots, they are fired.
So there you go. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. Danielle thinks I'm an unreliable podcast host. That's fine.
Well, I think Danielle and Library of Congress. So
listen,
sorry you're upset.
I mean, I don't like to butter Eric's bread that often, but he's literally only missed 1 episode in the entirety of Bloody Good Horror. And
no, I think well, how many episodes of Eric? Yeah, the Eric.
Oh, the Eric show. Yeah, well.
I've been churning out about one a month. Actually, I should do one on Annihilation.
Yeah, you should.
There you go.
And Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Oh, I did want a Game of Thrones.
CC. Oh, did you?
You should do an oral history of the Targaryens.
Cece, I think what you meant to say was I listened to your Game of Thrones episode and I really enjoyed your insights.
I did. I said, oh, I totally listened.
Part 2. She said part 2.
Yeah, sure.
Part 2.
Great. Whatever. I know Schnars
You should do an Eric show where you just read the weird ass conversations that we have on Hangouts all week.
Yeah.
About nothing in particular.
I know Schnars listens because he actually had specific thoughts for me.
I mean, I've listened to a few of them. I haven't listened to enough to say that you don't put them out often. I'm sorry.
We should mention too that if you're a new listener, we have a Patreon that supports the show, and if you sign up for Patreon, you get access to all of our spin-off shows, including the currently being talked about Eric show.
Yes,
well, I was gonna say I can't say anything because Something Red hasn't had an episode in almost a year, so.
So yeah, if you are a patron, you get Sophisticated Cinema with Shelton. You guys are about to record another one, right?
Yeah, we're doing one on I Kill Giants, which should be coming out in the next couple of weeks.
You get the Eric show when that happens on occasion. You get Casey with Cinema Fromage, which is his show with his wife. We have a show that Jason does about television shows, which I have another episode to post, and maybe something red one day.
One day.
Breaking news: J.J. Abrams says that his new movie Overlord is, quote, a crazy sci-fi action horror film, and emphasizes it's not a Cloverfield movie, adding, we're actually developing a true dedicated Cloverfield sequel. So there you go.
Likely story.
Cloverfield
And
sequel.
it came out yesterday. Wow.
Yeah. It's
Cool.
called My Quiet Place, and it was amazing. I'm done, Mark.
Oh, cool. Nice. That was a very subtle transition there. We also read some tweets from the Twitter. We use 2 hashtags. The first one we use is BGH Classics. So if you are a member of our aforementioned Patreon, you get access to either our back catalog up until the first 20 episodes, I want to say, and at the highest level you get access way the fuck back to the very first episodes, which you've had some moderately disturbing classics from. But anyways, if you're listening to the back episodes and you hear something silly and you want to bring it to our attention, tweet it with the hashtag BGH Classics and try and cram the episode number in there so other people can find it. This first one, Eric already sort of alluded to, but it's from me, Corazon, and Miamor. I do stop and think to myself, I'm fucking 25 years old. Like, I have a job, I have my own apartment, I have a girlfriend, and yet I still can't let go of the fact that I never found out what happened after Halloween 6.
It's true.
That was from episode 2, Halloween, high quality H2O.
That episode was real weird because, we were getting to know each other. I didn't really know anything about the rest of the crew except for Mark, and we didn't really know what the show was going to be. So I'm like, hey, let's talk about Halloween sequels, because I am a person, Mark, as you might know, with many thoughts on the Halloween sequels. And what I got into the show and discovered was that nobody else had any thoughts on Halloween sequels. And so it's literally just me talking for 45
So wait,
minutes.
was episode 2 of Bloody Good Horror was Halloween 6?
No, we were talking about just all of the sequels, basically.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Because that's super random for
No.
We did our first episode, now straight to number 6.
But if you want to hear a complete 180 from the who cares attitude of this episode, go back to that episode, because I'm sure that there's a lot of cares.
I am sure I sounded like I cared very much.
Yes, I'm guessing that the takes were hot in that episode. All right, next one, also from me, Corazon Miamor. This is funny. Schnorr's weird question: is your mom hot? Listen, this is very important that I know this. That was from Eric, episode 300. This is your life. If I remember correctly, we just got I can't remember. We just got completely shithoused. That was a weird episode, if I remember it correctly.
Wait, which episode?
Episode 300. This is your life. I mean, that was we don't know how long this podcast is going to go for, so let's memorialize every.
That was the one where was that the one we had everybody on? We had Christina and Lewis Fowler on and stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun. I like that show. That was cool.
That was fun, and we were fucking toasted. I just remember that episode being a complete mess because different connection speeds. We're all drinking. It was super fun. Cool. Next one is from Skizbot. This is me reading a Google search. A long lost feature is the Google report, where I would just find the weirdest searches that ended up landing on our site. So this is from the Google report. Big good dicks. John, do you think they were looking for detective stories? I actually remember that. Episode 42, Something Wicked to Say Comes.
I liked that movie. That was fun.
Yeah. This next one is also from that episode, and it's also a quote from me. Yes, I want to ride the fucking meat train, all right? Why don't you kiss me about it? I'm sure that was in anticipation of the movie Midnight Meat Train.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And this next one is a quote from Kate. It's also from Skizbot. The tweet is the quote is from Casey, episode 65, Phantasm. I love the balls. Presumably about the murder balls, but even better out of context.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Nice. All right. We also use the hashtag AskBGH. If you have a question, tweet us with the hashtag AskBGH, and we will do our best to answer it. This first one is a question for both John and Joe, so I'm going to skip it. It's about something at Duke. So there you go. Next one is from Skizbot. Have you ever had an old friend? This is such a random question. I love it. Have you ever had an old friend try to rope you into some multi-level marketing BS? Pal I hadn't seen since high school called me and tried to recruit me. He then invited another friend to grab a beer, but just took him to a seminar for his pyramid scheme. Yikes.
This is a goddamn blight on humanity, and to me, it's like the worst thing that Facebook has done, which is like enable all of these people with not enough things going on in their lives to try to suck everybody else into multi-level marketing horseshit. And the really terrifying thing, I mean, I guess at least if you see enough of it, you can recognize the language. The number one tell is that they won't tell you specifically about what the thing is. They only speak in like generic, like motivational poster platitudes. Like, do you want to take your life back and feel like you're in control of your own destiny? And it's like, no, dude, I'm good, thanks. Like,
I was at a well, I'm sort of getting to that age where it's like a lot of the people, it's like spending a lot of time with my wife's family and like their friends and people who are starting their own families, and we were at a 1-year-old's birthday party, and like there was a person there who I didn't recognize, and I'm like, oh, she must be like someone's friend or something, and like so we all have dinner or whatever, and then she's like, all right, ladies, gather around. And then she's selling like a like a detox kit protein powder thing, and she was giving her spiel. But it was so fun. It was like she was just like an NPC at the party, and then all of a sudden she
oh, look at the time.
Shit, somebody activated her scripting.
Yeah, she just like hit a button on the wall and confetti shot from the ceiling, and lasers were flying everywhere.
Just a PSA. I just want you to know that if you are into that shit and you're trying to sell people shit, all of your friends hate you. And I hate to be the one to tell you that, but it's true, and you just stop.
Real Eric, talk. you don't fuck with the pampered chef, Eric?
No, it's such, it's. I just like I had this one. I had an old coworker who's like way into the shit, and I had to like mute her on Facebook because literally sounds like David Koresh. Like every day she is posting the creepiest, like weirdest, most vague self-help bullshit, and like the idea to me that you can't see it is crazy. And then was trying to like get my wife into it, and my wife was just trying to be nice and was like trying to get details, and we literally wouldn't tell her what it was. Just saying like, oh, it's really about empowering women and like taking your blah blah, and it's like, that's like, really?
What? Oh my gosh.
And like had used like her, previous working relationship to me to like get to my wife, and then I felt guilty that she's like haranguing my wife about it, you know what I mean?
Easy seems really confused, but probably only because she's only trying to convince people to get into cults.
Listen, if you run a cult, at least you're being honest.
Yeah, true. I mean that's true.
You're
like, yo, you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, I'm hearing so much news about this sex cult thing.
Dude,
it's
that's crazy.
So Mark, you realize like that they were where they were kind of based out of.
Yeah. We're like around where we grew up.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
So I won't get into details, but an ex of mine was approached at the gym by Allison Mack and asked to come to one of their conferences.
What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So there you go.
And even though I know who it is, if you just generically told me it was an ex of yours and was approached to be in a sex cult, I could have guessed who it would have been had you not actually told me.
Yeah, so that's weird. So that's a whole thing.
Yeah. Cool. Pyramid schemes to sex cults, just normal BGH talk on a week that Joe's not here to make it all about.
That whole thing cracks me up because he named the cult Nexium, which is hilarious to me and such a dumb name. And there's a really great 2020 on it if you look it up and you're interested.
I thought it was Nexivum.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's Nexium spelled with dumb numbers and letters.
Yikes. Okay.
What I'm trying to say is, Mark, at the highest level of Patreon tier, I will brand my initials into your happy trail. So
perfect. Fantastic. Again,
it's only semi-painful.
In this episode about not caring, we found something else that Eric cares very passionately
I actually about. Super care.
You should probably clear that through our BGH lawyer now.
Yeah.
True. We are not liable for any real sex cults that result from listening to this episode. So this next one is not a question, but it is directed at Casey. It's from the Movie Pit. It said, not pointing fingers, which I just want to point this out. Speaking of things people care about, saying not pointing fingers is like saying no offense. Like you're definitely pointing fingers if you have to.
Yeah.
If you have to. I was just someone did that at work the other day, and I was ready to throw my fucking shoe at him. But anyways, not pointing fingers. But if you want to see Joe Lynch direct someone else's script, you did. He had nothing to do with the script for Mayhem. Still love the show. Take care, BGH.
Wait. I'm sorry. Say that again. I zoned out.
Joe Lynch did not write Mayhem. So all of our shitting on Joe Lynch's writing, he did not write it.
Did he let us know that, or was that somebody else?
Did Joe Lynch let us know, or
I had this fear releasing that show that I just felt like Joe Lynch seems like the kind of guy that like might, because he actually is kind of internet savvy. So I was like, I could see him getting a Twitter alert for the show and being like, oh, I'll listen to this. So I was just waiting for him to tweet us and be like, you guys are dicks.
No, it wasn't. It was the Movie Pit. He's been around for a while.
Well, okay,
He's been a fan of ours for a while.
Well, let me just correct what I said. Whoever wrote that movie writes comedy like they just discovered the word fuck, and I'm sorry that we said that about Joe
I
Lynch.
looked it up. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but he doesn't have a lot of writing credits. So it's like,
So maybe he did just discover the word fuck.
man, that's true. Maybe. I just found this book, and the only word in it's the word fuck. It's crazy. Anywho, next one is from Bruno the Weber. If haunted houses from horror movies could change into giant transformer-like robots, this is very specific, which one would win in some kind of epic fighting tournament? This one, question mark?
I got to go with Monster House.
Yes, but yeah, prayer will not help you. I was going to say the Poltergeist house.
Yeah.
Poltergeist house, pretty good.
Cool.
Powered by Indian ghosts.
Yeah.
Those are Native Americans.
Paranormal Activity 2 house, because it's all fancy and has big TVs.
Really nice TVs. Yeah. Great TVs. High quality.
Guys, we turn into lasers or something in a Transformer situation.
True.
Yeah.
Crimson Peak House. They've got some weird,
Yeah.
body dissolving acid shit,
The
red
house- the
sand
house-
things
The
going
house
on.
is pretty wild.
Plus, that was directed by Guillermo del Toro, so there's a large chance it could turn into a Pacific Rim mech.
Crossover.
Good thinking.
Yeah.
I like where your head's at. Did Pacific Rim 2 already come out?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Has anyone seen it?
No.
Nah.
Probably says a lot.
Yeah, I really
Never
liked
heard
the
of
first.
much
I
about
really
it.
liked the first one, but I was never like, boy, I'd sure like to watch another one of these.
Yeah.
Like it was better than I thought it was going to be, but I was not like, yeah, bring on number 2. Also, must be weird to be John Boyega and be in Star Wars movies and then be in literally anything else. Like, why waste your time?
It's true.
So
Okay,
you don't
cool.
turn into Mark Hamill.
Ooh, dang.
Got to diversify them bonds, Mark. is
Got
what
'em.
I'm trying to say.
Got him. All right, next one. It's from Casey Kern 2. Who is more heroically debauched, Jason Clarke in Winchester or Tom Atkins in Halloween 3?
Tom Atkins.
Tom
yeah,
Atkins
I mean,
always.
Yeah,
here's the
always.
thing: is this movie has a moral about how what he's doing is bad in the end. Like Tom Atkins' lifestyle is nothing but celebrated in Halloween 3. He is a
For good reason.
He's a philanderer and a cocksmith of the highest order in that movie, and like
Cocksmith.
he also like he has an ex-wife that he like calls and argues on the phone with, and like it's a whole that movie's a whole thing with him, and he's like got some kind of relationship with the medical examiner lady that he's always on the phone with. Like they clearly have been doing stuff too.
Sweat, fucking drink beer.
I feel like filmmakers in the 80s just knew something about Tom Atkins, and we're just like,
The only way to save the children is to lay pipe all over town.
I mean, let's be honest, John. That sounds like the title of Tom Atkins' biography.
It could be.
Sweat, fucking drink beer.
Here's my question always about Halloween 3. Was the girl that he picks up a robot the whole time he was with her, or does she get turned into a robot in the factory?
I think she got turned into one, but
Yeah.
I'm not positive. It's been a long time.
It's best not to, try to pick apart Halloween 3 too much. Just enjoy it for the jewel that it is.
Did she stand too close to the piece of Stonehenge, or what happened?
Yeah. I'm over Halloween 6, but this is the new mystery that I'm pretty into.
Oh yeah, if you go back, you probably will get some like, Halloween 3 isn't a real Halloween movie hot takes if you're into
I don't know. I wonder
really
if
cool
maybe,
original
I don't
things
know.
that people say.
I don't know. We might have been there already. I felt that way for
You
a
think
while.
so?
Yeah.
I don't know. You might be giving us more credit.
Maybe not.
No, I distinctly remember Eric defending Halloween 3. I think I was the it's not a real Halloween voice.
Got it. Cool. Well, you've only how many episodes? What episode is this, Eric?
I have no idea. 471 maybe.
471.
Something like that.
Man, if we get to 500, what's our 500th episode going to be like?
I specifically stopped like saying it.
Any failure?
I stopped saying it when we intro the show because I always forgot it as I was trying to say it and sounded stupid. So I just started saying, "Welcome to the show."
This is welcome to episode 69, 420. I'm Eric.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. We've got one more. It's from King Township Fit. Didn't see it, but I noticed Angus Sampson in the credits. Any chance this fits into the Lin Shea-verse, setting a final boss battle at least?
Yeah, so he.
Yes, totally.
I wish I could remember this character's name. It's something stupid in the Insidious movies. It's like Patch or some bullshit. He plays one half of the Ghost Hunters with Lee Winnell, and I can't take him seriously. And he's got a weird put-on gruff voice in this movie too. That was just very
he's
bad.
like the contractor.
It's very bad and dumb.
Yeah.
So there you go. I'm gonna
Tucker. His name's Tucker.
Tucker. All right, that's kind of a normal name. Specs is the dumb guy name. That's what Lee Winnell's name is.
Specs.
For anybody curious, I've put a picture of Cece's creepy Victrola in the video here. If you want to see it.
Yes.
Quick, as we're winding down, everyone's Venom hot takes. Go.
Looks sweet.
I mean, I feel like Tom Hardy wouldn't be in it if it was going to be horrible, but who knows?
Man.
It looks goofy as fuck, and I love it.
I thought
That's all
I mean, I'm
I
so
don't.
excited about it.
I can't handle serious Marvel movies. I just want just the goofiest shit I've ever seen, and it looks awesome in that respect.
I think the animation on the suit looks friggin' incredible.
Yeah, that
He's
does.
so slimy.
Yeah. Somebody said that his eye things look like the white of a Cadbury cream egg, and now I can't unsee it.
We've changed the origin a little bit.
Yeah, so we threw our own take on the story.
They couldn't use Spider-Man, so where are you gonna go?
See, he's. Oh, also there was some debate about how to pronounce symbiote.
Oh gosh.
I guess they say it. Do they say it's symbiote?
Yeah, Jenny Slate. Like, there's that like scene in the trailer, and she's like, she literally chops it up when enunciating it.
Yeah, that's not how you say it.
Yeah, I love Jenny Slate. I don't know if this is the best use of Jenny Slate.
In case anybody out there was curious, it's symbiote, and that's it, and there's no other pronunciation. So.
I always pronounced it symbiote, so sorry, Eric.
You're wrong.
Symbiote.
It's okay. You're
Yeah,
wrong.
hey.
I went with symbiote.
That's not how. Symbiote. It's like it's a Harry Potter thing.
Yeah.
It's symbiote.
Ay.
For real. Mark
did
it
it.
down in your calendars. All right, guys. What are we doing next week? What's the movie?
Tragedy Girls.
Yes. This seems fun. It's like a thing.
Yeah.
So
it
there you
is.
go.
It's like tragedy, but with girls.
No ghosts.
Give you some
No
time to
ghosts.
check it out. Don't forget, if you want to see a live stream of the show, you can become a patron at the Belial level and get a free streaming video every week when we record the show, including the pre-show, in which you can see us eat things and drink things and talk about our lives
And also see random creepy shit in Cece's house.
yeah, like if you were
Yeah.
if you were watching the
Cece's
pre-show,
haunted object of the week.
if you were
Yes.
watching the pre-show this week, she was skyping it from her phone from upstairs or downstairs or whatever, so she could play the Victrola. So there you go. That's what you're missing if you're not a patron.
And it
Missing
was
out.
very effective. So
It was creepy.
All right, guys, that's gonna do it for our show on Winchester. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you next week.
Adios.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.